Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Chris, joined by Ben for Outer Rim Transmission episode 140. There is a lot to go over this week. There is a lot of stuff that has come out in the last week, within the last couple hours, if I'm being honest. So we're going to do our damn best to try to cover it all in tonight's episode. Last week, I was like, hey, our main topic is going to be about, sports and Star Wars because hey, you're not used to seeing us on a Saturday night because we're not trying to compete with the Super Bowl. So our usual recording time is Sunday. We pushed back to today, Saturday, to get this all in because of, the big game, as I call it. So we're going to get into our little icebreaker for this evening is Star Wars sports, just sports and Star Wars. I'm going to throw over to you, Ben. I mean, there's some really cool stuff with episode 1 that we're going to be talking about later on this week, namely pod racing. So yeah, just that little conversation opener of Star Wars sports and pod racing and everything else in between.
Yeah, let's definitely not compete with the big game just because they're estimating it to be 200 million viewers tomorrow night. So yeah, let's not compete with them. But yeah, for Star Wars sports, like there's so many different things with Star Wars sports, like I said, whether it be pod racers or even like the little football-esque thing you see getting played in Attack of the Clones in the bar, in the underworld bar, like those sorts of, and I think Club Kenobi is it. So like those things, and then even you have even back to Legends. So like this week I was listening to, I was continuing the second Hand of Thrawn book, and like when Mara and Luke were talking, she brings up, like, she made some like wisecrack to Luke about him like being like as clumsy as a kid playing shockball. And I was like, man, I wonder what that is. Like, is that like I mean, I know it's not like, I know it's Legends, but is there that must have been like an old like a Legends thing, because even in other Legends books, I remember the term shockball before, so it must have been like a sport in, like, say, the Legends material. And I was gonna bring that up as kind of like my sport to talk about, because I heard her say that, and then I'd remember that being referenced before, and I was like, man, I'm gonna ask you, have you heard of that before in like even current canon?
No, I actually was combing the good old
Interesting.
Wikipedia, and I could not find much of anything with canon
Hmm.
Star Wars sports. I mean, what I was looking for is pod racing. They have riot racing, which, hey, that was a brand new addition to Star Wars with the Bad Batch season 2, which was a great episode, the one that actually had tech racing and all that. And then Hutball, which is it's gonna be canon. It was mentioned in the end of Battle for the Arena, the Star Wars Hunters. Yeah, remember that game, Star Wars Hunters? I guess that could be considered an entire sport for that video game. It's just a bunch of people just in this arena fighting each other. You got Mandalorians, you got like Sith wannabe acolytes that aren't really Sith, and a bunch of funny like wrestling tropes of people like becoming their persona, and the whole idea of like this funny fake but planned ahead kind of, okay, I'm gonna win this fight versus you. It's like this whole take on wrestling in Star Wars. But no, as far as the thing you're mentioning, I've never heard of it.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a common like thing I've heard. I've heard it thrown around in Legends books before, shockball. So it's like, I wonder, that must have been like the default like little Star Wars sport, pre pod racing, pre like any of these things in like the old Legends material.
Yeah, Ben, we got our streams crossed a little bit on this one. According to Dark Nerdy Gonzo, Outlander Club was the one that was actually in Attack of the Clones, and Club Obi-Wan was actually in Indiana Jones and the Temple of
Oh,
Doom.
okay. Hey. Now I'm not on my full game. I'm sick. So hey, I got a credit there.
Oh man. So yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's cool. I would just say like general swoop racing, right? Like we got some
Yep.
stories with Han Solo recently in canon in the comics with Dengar and them, racing swoops on Corellian. I'm pretty sure that's actually how Dengar, got his burned skin,
Yep.
which is why he wears all the wrappings. It's because of that reason. So you got that. But yeah, I'm not even sure what the heck those games were even called. The football looking weird game with the droids and all in the back of Club Outlander. I don't even know if we ever got a canonical name. I'm sure we do somewhere, but
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, you have that. I mean, even I guess even on like like a darker sense, man, starting the podcast off on a darker sense. I mean, is bullseyeing womp rats like a game, I guess? Like Luke and them acted like it was a game. So like, it's I guess that's their form of hunting. So like maybe that's like a sport to Luke back in
Y-
the day.
Yeah. We have some comments in the chat. First Star Wars sport was in Droid's cartoon, the Bunta speeder
Mm.
bike swoop races. Bunta got recycled from George for episode one. Oh, that's interesting. I've still yet to see, I forget what they call it, the archives or something on Disney Plus. They have the droids and they have the Ewok cartoons. I have watched the Ewok cartoons because I actually have the VHS tape right over there.
I
But that's so
enjoyed the
funny.
droids one as a kid. I really did. Like I
Okay.
liked whoever the main character was. I don't know. I don't know why I liked him, but I liked that guy.
Yeah, so for all of you out there, it's gonna be Super Bowl, but it's like, all right, let's get the boot to Eve. That's the biggest, I guess, their Super Bowl of Star Wars. So, it's just interesting to see the expanded universe when it comes to, the real world kind of stuff, but played out in Star Wars with these gigantic sporting events that everybody's watching across the globe.
Oh yeah, I mean, if anything, not even really the Super Bowl. I mean, that's pretty much the Daytona 500. Like that's like just modeled straight up after the Daytona 500. Like the way it's set up, like the pod racers, the countdown, the flags of all the different racers. Because like Daytona, you have the flags representing a lot of the different racers, and then
Oh.
you have the announcers. Like it's literally set up like just like the Daytona 500 actually. Which I know that's why there were some people that critiqued Phantom Menace back in the day because of that reason, like
Hmm.
because it was too similar to the Daytona 500, and the two announcers were too, say, Earth-like toward like say the NASCAR racers like hyping up the crowd or whatever.
Yeah, and that George Lucas, right? This guy's a huge racing fan. Like he almost lost his life as a teenager, early teen or early adult racing a car. Then I think it was like a year or two, a couple years ago, we seen him at one of those Grand Prix. He was in his own little booth, and it was like the first time we seen George in like years and years of just this behind the scenes, like camera scene showing George Lucas was there with his wife or whatever. So yeah, it's in his DNA to have the Grand Prix type of stuff. He's a huge fan of that. So yeah, looking forward to seeing more sports in Star Wars generally. So there you go. There you go. So we have a lot to get through, as I mentioned earlier. But before we get started, some housekeeping here. We usually record Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. That'll be what we'll go back to for the following week. And we do have the podcast available to download after the fact on usually Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. I get that up. You can find that on Spotify. You can find that on Apple. And please give us a rate and review. And of course, you could just always watch the replay of this podcast if you'd rather watch us over on youtube.com/Starrapter. So there you have it. Very excited to get into this show. We had a couple releases that came out this week, just namely with comics. We have Obi-Wan issue number 5 of 6. If you've watched the episode, you've read the comic, and vice versa. And then we have Mace Windu issue number 1. I'm very much a fan of this one, Ben, because I was not a fan of Mace Windu, Jedi of the Republic. I felt it was pretty lame because we have a Clone Wars story and there was like no clones. So that was just the least of the problems. I say that thinking that's like, oh, this is nitpick, but there's a lot of things I didn't like about that one. But no, this Mace Windu number 1 is really cool because first and foremost, it is taking place before the Phantom Menace. This one's taking place before he was even on the Jedi Council. He's still a Jedi Master, but he's not on the Council just yet. So there's a lot of great action. You see Mace Windu really being violent, really being vicious, as we know he was, right? There's just a lot of good material in here. He's basically trying to find out where this character is. He's got to, exfiltrate this person out of this place that is a bunch of criminals. So it's Mace Windu at his best, you know, just whooping some butt, man. It's pretty cool. So that's 1 out of 4 for this mini series. So you can check out my review over on this channel, and me and Matthew will be talking about it next week because this week over on the Star Wars Underworld channel we were able to interview the writer of Bounty Hunters and the writer of the upcoming Jango Fett miniseries, Ethan Sachs. So go ahead, check out really great interview. He was very generous with his time. We were over an hour talking with Ethan Sachs, one of the best, coolest writers in Star Wars right now. So that's over again on the Star Wars Underworld. That is the tractor beam for this week. So, getting into our first little story, and this one really excites me because I'm not the biggest Legends guy. Ben, you know more than I do when it comes to this, you and Milton.
Yep.
But there's actually a Legends vehicle coming out that you can actually own and tangibly hold, and that is the E-Wing from Ahsoka. So I just got a lot of kicks out of this because apparently you can pre-order it on Hasbro Pulse. I've seen this pop up on the usual, social media handles of people caring about this stuff. Again, I love looking at this stuff. I just don't have the space or the money that I want to put towards action figures. I'll be spending a lot of money on playing cards, trading cards with Star Wars Unlimited in about 3 weeks. So yeah, not anything in the budget to buy anything else besides a couple things right now. But what are your thoughts on this E-Wing?
Yeah, I mean it's cool that they're releasing it. Like you said, with alongside Ahsoka, and like it's a classic Legends vehicle. But just in the same breath as you, like for me, when it comes to Star Wars collecting, it's not even really about like those vehicle type things anymore, things like that. Um, I lean toward more. I'm definitely more in like the General Grievous category now, looking more at like lightsaber hilts than more than anything. Like I said, I have the Skywalker saber, and then I have Mara Jade's lightsaber. So like I just looking to continue to add more to those. Eventually, I want to like maybe want to get like a really nice Darth Maul or something. That would be pretty cool, or even like a Dooku. But just yeah, for me, it's more about lightsaber hilts or lightsaber hilts and more like the retro games and things like that over like a lot of these things. But like you said, it's cool that they're producing them, and um, yeah, I mean it's just cool seeing them produce like classic things like that.
Yeah, it is pretty neat just getting a chance to read about these ships for years and years and years, and you imagine what they look like in their head, and then they might show up in like an old video game or old Dark Horse comic or something, and then hey, it's actually here. This is a big deal. So there you go. I'm not really sure on the release date, but you can go ahead and make sure you could go to Hasbro Pulse and pre-order that if you would like. Next up here. This is the big one. This is what I'm leading off with the thumbnail. So there was this big announcement. There was a couple announcements that came out of the Disney investors meeting, and I admit I forgot it was even happening. Like all this news came out, I'm like, where's this coming from? Oh, that makes sense. So apparently, Epic Games and Disney are basically teaming up for a $1.5 billion deal. Disney is giving Epic Games to create basically what I call the mega game. So it's going to be kind of a platform where every entity of Disney is going to be incorporated into a virtual world. So you got, your Pixar stuff, apparently your ESPN stuff. If you're looking at this thumbnail, this artwork here that came out for it, Avatar, the Fox stuff, just literally everything because Bob Iger, who reclaimed the CEO title after Bob Chayef stepped down or whatever, he has looked and seen that hey, there's a bit of a dip kind of in the material like the movies and the shows. And where's all that going? Oh wait, it's over here. All these younger people are playing games more than they're watching things. So now all of a sudden they have to diversify. They want to get ahead. They want to get into this whole thing because there's a lot of money to be made there. Because Epic Games, if you're not familiar, they are the developers of Fortnite, which is the most successful multiplayer live service game that uses microtransactions. It's none of the stuff you buy can affect like your power of your character. It's just really cool skins. Like earlier in the week, I retweeted, I think, me playing Fortnite and having Black Chrysanthemum playing a guitar and playing drums and just rocking out on stage in their version of Rock Band that they have in Fortnite now. So there's a lot of power behind the brand to be able to already see the fruits of their labor, having just Disney light basically Fortnite like licensing to use the likenesses of their Star Wars characters and their Marvel characters. It's worked really well. Like people will be happy like me to spend $10 on a Luke Skywalker skin, even though I barely play the game because I'm just like, oh, that looks so cool. I want to have it, right? So they're kind of stepping up their game and creating something that I can't even tell you guys what it is because it's very vague. There is no concrete details. All we can go by is just pure speculation based on not much here. But overall, Ben, I just want to hear what your first like kind of initial impression when you heard that, oh my gosh, like there's a $1.5 billion deal here being made. What the heck's going on?
Yeah, to me that meant they're most likely developing a platform more than anything. Like when I first was reading, and mind you, when I was first reading into this stuff, I was laying in bed feeling like I was dying. But when I was reading it briefly, like through my glances through the articles and things, like I like to me it seems like it maybe like a platformish type thing, like maybe like a Fortnite type thing, maybe like I think there's a chance we get like some sort of like I don't know, you can't make a Disney Fortnite. You can't have Mickey Mouse going out and shooting people. Like so, I feel like we're gonna get some sort of like Disney platform where it's or like Moana going out there and like
Oh my gosh.
taking out Mulan or something crazy. Um but like but like, you have stuff like that. Like I don't think it'll be a fighting game unless they do it where it's just like the character specific weaponry, like Moana might, I don't know, she might like hit you with an ocean blast or something. I don't know. But
Oh.
like things like that, maybe it's something like that, like an open Fortnite-ish type thing with Disney characters. But I mean, if you're Disney, then I feel like you just license to Fortnite and just take your cut from them. So to me, maybe it's more along the lines of maybe like maybe it's like a Disney world, open world type thing. Like to me, what I was thinking along the lines of like something like with all those all those different things like Pixar, Star Wars, whatever, Marvel, etc. Like maybe you have all the different characters and IPs,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, IPs from there. Um, and maybe it's going to be something like if you played it back in the day, maybe it's something like a roller coaster tycoon type thing
Yeah.
where you go and like walk around the cities and I can go and like visit your city or like there can
Mm-hmm.
be like a central city where it's like every like thousands and thousands of users, but then like
Mm-hmm.
if I click on like your avatar, like I can go to your created Disney associated world or something. Like maybe it's something like that, like a mega intensive thing, like where every like we all can create our own like little kind of like I said, like kind of like maybe like a roller coaster tycoon-ish type thing where you can create your own Disney World with all the different properties. Like, you could have like a Buzz Lightyear teaming up with Mando or something. Like,
Yeah.
something like that. I think it's going to be something along those lines where it's like you're just going to have all these characters crossing over in this big, massive
Mm.
online thing, or maybe even kind of like you play it like the Old Republic, Chris,
Mm.
like online. Maybe it's going to be something like that where it's like, you know, like you said, maybe we'll get some upgradable skins like Fortnite, whatever, and then they'll just do a bunch of different things, like maybe events, like maybe you're gonna have, like a Disney event thing where it's like, okay, like obviously it may not like a violent thing, but like, hey, you got to go and play this like head to head, I don't know, surfing event or something. You can go and like surf with Mando in the ocean against Moana or whatever, like,
That'd be awesome.
something like that. Like, I think it's going to be something along those lines where it's like an kind of open world ish intensive thing with tons of people.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much kind of the same concept. I'm thinking along those lines. Two things that Disney has had experience with. First off, there's a game that's currently going. It's kind of an Animal Crossing sort of game called Disney Dreamlight Valley. And the idea behind it is there's no violence or anything. It's like literally you go around, you pick, it's all from the Disney characters, so nothing Star Wars or Marvel in there. But you have your little village, you grow it, you can change your character, customize, all that good stuff. So I think it's going to have elements of that. I think it's going to have elements of this. This is the first thing that came to my mind. This is Disney Infinity 2.0. You got all these little figures here. I have them right below my monitor. I just love the design, like the Pixarification of like Finn and all these other characters that we've known to known to love over the years. And what this game was basically like is it's okay, you have your characters and you have your Marvel world, you have your Pixar World, your Disney World, and you could literally just like cross the streams, so to speak, where you can have Boba Fett go into Toy Story Land and start blasting people, and stuff like that.
Oh,
And it's like it's very, it's a rated like uh, not even T, rated E for everyone. It is not like crazy violence or anything like that in it, but it's fun because you could play through like some of the moments in the Star Wars, the Clone Wars. They had sets, Star Wars original trilogy. They had the sequel trilogy levels. It was a really fun game. The reason why it shut down is they mass produced these figures, and it basically caused an overabundance, and they just wasted so many resources on this game that never really picked up to be, I guess, as successful as they want it to be. And I don't believe that this game would have any kind of figure element, tangible action, physical element. It's going to be solely with the virtual thing. And a point to branch off of that, they announced this game now. I'm not expecting to see this game for another 6 or 7 years because when you look at the development of AAA games, it's usually between 5 and 6 years now. So things in the industry, in the gaming industry, drastically change in 6 years. A good example of that is I have just reviewed Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, right? They that company, Rocksteady, was banking money. Warner Brothers was banking money that when they started developing that game 5 or 6 years ago, that it would be a hit in today's day and age with the live service games. Well, turns out in the last couple of years, live service has been kind of a dirty word among gamers. And now, by the time that game came out, people are tired of that sort of genre. And you go on Steam and you see there's only 3,000 people playing a brand new game. Like, what the heck happened, right? So it's really hard in this gaming sphere when things are planned out so far in advance because that's how they have to be created. And the idea that this thing has $1.5 billion, this isn't even on a AAA scale, meaning AAA meaning it is like the big gamers, or the big game companies like Ubisoft and EA are AAA, the big ones.
yeah.
Like for instance, Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order,
Rockstar.
Battlefront, they're all AAA games. So the high caliber games. This is a level higher than that. There's never been a
Mhm.
game that has come close to even costing $1 billion. Like you look at Jedi Survivor and some of the other games, they might cost actually like the price of a movie nowadays. It's crazy. It's $200 to $300 million to make a game. And the problem is that is getting too much in the cost realm where now people are actually losing jobs and everything else because it's just that it's not
Dust.
sustainable. It's not sustainable to have this much money poured into these games and the amount of work that it goes on. It's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother
Yeah.
day. But
You
basically,
know
what I'm
what?
trying to get at is this game is probably not going to come out till like 2030, 2031. And at that point, we're obviously going to have a new generation of consoles by then. And the landscape in the future is going to look far different than it is already. And Xbox has been paving the ground for what that reality could be. And that's all what I'm banking on this to be is cloud gaming. I think this game,
Yep.
you're not even going to need an Xbox. You're not even going to need a PlayStation because in 5 or 6 years from now, they've already started doing this. You can just play games on your TV without any hardware. You're going to be cloud streaming this game probably on your phone. You could play it, then you could pick up your progress, play it on your TV, pick up your progress, play it on a train on your Nintendo Switch or whatever, Switch 2 at that point, playing it on there, right? So it's not going to, because the thing that drove the message home to me is they said there's 3 billion gamers and Bob Iger wants to get all of them. The reality is most of those gamers are mobile gamers. You might have like a less than a billion or a billion like console gamers and PC gamers. But most of those people that they want to get to are like the average day people that are waiting in line at the bank and are playing whatever, like Candy Crush or something, right? So they want this game to hit all the general audience. So I'm thinking this is going to be not a hardcore game. It's going to be a fun game where you can probably go into different lands. It's going to be multiplayer, I'm sure, so you can like connect with your friends lists and all this sort of thing. Oh, let's go check out, Pandora. And 2 hours after that, they're like, hey, let's go to Toy Story Land, right? I think they're going to have hubs, and you're going to, let's say, play through one of the Star Wars movies with your characters. And
Yep.
then after that, you go to the Avatar Land and same thing. And you'll probably see like expansions every couple months. Like, oh, the Wreck-It Ralph world is now open, or it's gonna be because the way they showed that picture, Ben, it looks like a theme park concept design because I just got done looking at what Universal's putting together, and they literally put out the same kind of looking concept art of their new Epic Universe. So it's got like 5 parks, and you look on this. This is basically Disney saying, don't worry, you don't have to go to our parks. You could also enjoy just as much just sitting at home, going virtually to our virtual park, essentially. Our virtual theme park is what they're trying to create here.
Well, I mean, what if they do something like that? Like, so what if, you know, say like with how Fortnite has things structured now, you have like your battle royale, you have
Yep.
your different modes on there, whatever. What if one of the modes on this Disney platform is, hey, I could party up with you and 10 other people, and we could, what if there's literally a mode you can just go explore an actual Disney park? Like we go and walk through, and like, our characters can
Oh,
get on the roller coasters, and
yeah.
and it be like that sort of thing. Because I mean, 1.5 billion, I mean, and what if, see this is something where it comes along the lines of like your at home streaming, your at home stuff, where it's like, what if it's like, hey, you can pay like $5 admission or something to go explore a Disney park, and then you have your other free options too, like your free worlds, your free things. But what if it's like $5 admission, to go explore Disneyland in Florida or Galaxy's Edge, for example, and then you can go do it digitally with you and 10 other people or something. Like there's definitely going to be a lot of ways they're going to make money out of this, because
Oh
like
yeah.
1.5 billion, they're viewing it as a big, if they're investing 1.5 billion, they're expecting way more in return. So
Oh yeah.
it's definitely going to be something to watch.
Yeah, I think the thing that worries me is they over monetize it, right? Like they mentioned the word shop in this press briefing, which gets me a little worried. I mean, it's Disney. I mean, what do you expect, right? But just as long as the stuff isn't exorbitant, like don't, charge me a pair of boots for $30 for my character. Like
Yeah.
don't do the predatory kind of stuff where it's just like this is just gonna run my wallet dry and
Hey,
the
hey,
pr- you
they
know
can they can have that as long as we can upload the knockoff brand from eBay on there, and then we don't have to worry about it.
yeah, and I could see there being really cool synergy, like for instance, maybe people that go to a physical park, because there's word apparently that they're, I guess in this same briefing they had mentioned they were going to be adding a third park to Disneyland California and a possible fifth
Well,
park Disney
see,
World Florida, according to Aaron Daly in the chat. So I could see them being like, oh, if you go to this ride, scan this barcode and you'll get like a thematic piece of gear that this ride resembles. If you go on Jungle Cruise, you're gonna get like a cool like
yep.
little hat or something for your character.
Well, see, when we had this as one of our topics, when I started thinking about what this could be, I was thinking of something along the lines of like, say how, like Pokemon Go has the special holiday events, like where it's
Mm,
like you only get these Pokemon on Christmas Day. That's it. We're never releasing them again or whatever. Or even like for like my OG people from like the late 90s, early 2000s that are, in your upper 20s, early 30s, you might remember back in the day, if I don't know if you ever did, Chris, but back in the day when I was like in maybe fourth grade, fifth grade, there was this old game called Club Penguin. It's
yeah.
literally, it was a game legit where all it was like a wide open world in like the Arctic basically. And you had little towns all over. You had like an iceberg floating, you had a dojo in the mountains, whatever, and all these things. And you created your penguin and you went and walked around, and there were like thousands of other
Huh.
people just roaming the world, and
Whoa.
you could randomly just pick up and throw a snowball at someone, whatever, and all these things. But it brought me to that because the thing is, back in the day, like that game, that Club Penguin game back in the day, it would host events where it's like, okay, hey, you know, a special Easter event, and then they literally would only release the like Easter or Christmas gear or whatever that one time, and they would never re-release it again. So it's like they make it exclusive. So like for me, that got me thinking about this, and it's like, yeah, I could see Disney doing something like that where it's like it's a special event at a park, or it's even a special event. Hey, if you go opening night to Toy Story
Yep.
5, you get an exclusive
Oh.
Woody or Buzz or whoever, like or even for Star Wars, like a exclusive. Hey, by the time say 2028, you get an exclusive maybe like a Luke or a Thrawn or a Ahsoka or someone to
Yep.
walk around in. Like, if you scan your ticket. So like, I think there's going to be a lot of options with this game, and I'm excited for it because I think something like that would be a lot of fun. Just like an open world, just kind of casual game where you can just load up with your buddies.
Hmm. Yeah, and we had mentioned quickly before I alluded to this, Fortnite, the developers, Epic Games, have done something unprecedented. At the Game Awards back in December, they made this huge announcement where, hey, it's not just Battle Royale anymore. You have a Guitar Hero clone. You have like this really cool racing game that is actually pretty good. You have Lego Fortnite, which is their take on Minecraft, and darn, it's pretty good. So it's not Fortnite anymore. It's a platform. So who better to pick for Disney than the guys that are already doing the sort of same thing already on their own? And you got the best game engine arguably out, which is Unreal Engine 5, which is just the go-to for most companies. So I'm very curious. And Disney's been doing a good job with kind of reversing what their basically mission statement was, right? With Star Wars, especially, right? Like they would only let EA games make Star Wars games. And that was probably to their detriment, as we're finding out. And now we're getting an open world game from Ubisoft. We're getting a cool mobile game from uh, whatever they're called, something with a Z.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things on the horizon thanks to that. Oh, Bethesda's making an Indiana Jones game, Machine Games looks amazing. So there you go. This wouldn't have happened if Disney didn't wake up and say, okay, why pigeonhole ourselves into Zynga? That's the company making Hunter
Oh yeah.
Zynga. Why pigeonhole us to this? Because now we have the potential to do something cool like this that could push the industry.
Yeah, I mean, for real, like all those games, and hey, speaking of EA, they do need to make a Battlefront 3. I do want to see that happen. Um, but yeah, like it is cool seeing them like branch out and like be like, oh yeah, hey, we have this big brand. Why pigeonhole to one company when we can just like have more companies develop games and make more money for everyone? Like it's win-win and make the games enjoyable. Like people are enjoying these games for the most part. Like, people liked Fallen Order franchise, like the Lego games was well received. Battlefront 2 after the fact, people I think enjoyed. Um and you have things like that. So it's like, and like Outlaws seems to be on a good trajectory, and yeah, like I'm excited to see where this game goes. I really am.
Yeah, speaking of Battlefront, one funny thing about that was I looked in the comments section of this announcement, and all I seen was "Give us Battlefront 3, give us Battlefront
That was
3"
the
from
first
like
thing I saw too.
I couldn't believe it. Like at this point, I don't know if Disney would just. It'd be really interesting. Maybe Disney like just gives Battlefront this again. Another top for another day. What if Disney just gave Battlefront 3 to another developer? They don't. Why should they have to go with DICE? DICE
Yeah.
kind of failed them in a way. So I don't know. Now throw it to Activision that makes Call of Duty or something. I know, somebody else. I don't know. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother topic for another day. But yes, that is what's going on with this weird, mysterious game. But as coming off of this, the press release, it was also mentioned, Bob Iger literally said Mando and Grogu is coming out in 2026. So that's a big revelation because before that we had no idea. Right? We've been seeing reports, some rumblings that it's going to be filming starting in June, but we weren't sure if it was going to be coming out in 2025 at the end or at some point in 2026. So, with that being said, what is your reactions to that, Ben?
Yeah. I mean, hey, it's great to hear finally some commitment from Disney and them. Like, all right, anywhere between January 1st and December 31st in 2026. At least we know there's that movie coming out. Like it came from Bob Iger, and like Lucasfilm can't go back on what the CEO of the entire company says. At least you wouldn't think. So we know they're locked into 2026. So that's good. It's good they committed to something. But like joking aside, it's good to know like Star Wars is coming back to theaters finally. Like it is. It's been way too long. Like we've all discussed that. I mean, God, we could do a whole 4-hour podcast on why Star Wars should be in theaters every year. Um, and then you have the whole fact of we also the fact that like Bob Iger, yeah, he said 2026, but we know also via StarWars.com that like they literally said in their own article that the Mando and Grogu movie is leading the slate, which means this is the May movie. Um, so like we know when it's happening now. We know it's May 2026. So it's like, okay, like here we go. Like we got a time slot. We got now anticipation for it because like you can build up to it via
Mm.
like your celebrations, your different announcements, your different sporting events, whatever. Like even for example, like May 2026, that'll be right in the middle of the NBA playoffs and NBA, ESPN has the NBA's rights and they're owned by Disney. So like they'll be advertising the heck out of that movie through the NBA playoffs, of course. And yeah, like it's like a great move and it's like it's finally like we're heading in the right direction and like what better way like to get Star Wars back into theaters than to put Mando and Grogu like leading the charge. Like just because like for me, like all critiques aside of the sequel trilogy, like you just couldn't start Star Wars back in theaters after a 7 year layoff with a sequel era movie just because of like the negative cachet that era brings at the moment. So like I think it's like this is a good option. It's a safe option for like say the fans across the board. Like us hardcore fans will go and see like if it's called Star Wars a story about a droid's foot, we would go see it. Like it doesn't matter what, we would go see it. But like the thing is with this movie is Mando and Grogu, you're gonna have mom and pop and like everybody else going to see it because you're going to be seeing Grogu in all the marketing campaigns, like on Good Morning America, on whatever. Grogu and Pedro Pascal will be like everywhere,
Oh yeah.
around that time. Especially like Pedro, he loves like being a big star now, so like he's definitely going to be all over the marketing there. So I'm yeah, that's kind of like my initial reaction. I'm definitely it's exciting that it's finally happening, even though we're
Yeah.
2 years away.
Yeah, I'm a bit bummed. I'll be honest. I was disappointed here in 2026 because it's so darn far away, right? As the
It's
selfish
basically
Star
two and a
Wars
half
fan,
years. I mean,
selfish Star Wars fan is like, wait, we got this announced that it was going to be filming this year. It means like it's that gets over. It's another year of post production. It could be out by 2025. I guess my mind was set on that, but naively speaking, like you look at their film slate for that end of the year of 2025, they have another Avatar movie coming out, another animated movie of some degree or something. So it'd be like too much competition by their own self. So it would be that intelligent to release that anyways.
oh yeah,
But
they won't touch Avatar after how much money it made last time. They're not gonna. James Cameron's gonna laugh if they say, "Hey, we're gonna move your movie." He's gonna say, "Sorry, you're not doing that."
yeah, but then again, this also leads to me feeling a little bit more confident in what this story could be. Because just this week, in the same report, this came up that apparently Moana 2, which got a surprise release for this November, was originally going to be a Disney Plus movie, and then it got upgraded to a Disney movie. Because you see what is happening here, the
Disney
changing
Plus
of the guard.
series.
Yeah, yeah, the change. Oh, Disney Plus series. Okay, the changing of the guard. Bob Chapek, he was all in on Disney Plus everything, right? And Bob Iger's back. He's like, okay, the paradigm shift. No, everything's going back to the movies. We got to get everything. So that's what this whole shift is happening here. And the idea for me that this could have been season 4, I was really hoping that they just weren't going to fast track, oh, put all 4 or 5 episodes together and just create a movie and put it out there. The idea that this is going to take this long, okay, this is an actual movie, not just a relegated, oh, let's just mash up a bunch of episodes and put it in a theater. So this leads me to believe this is a bona fide movie, not just like a half thought, like impulse idea to be
Yeah.
like, we need another movie. What are we gonna do? People like Mando, just make that season into a movie and we'll get butts and seats. So that leads me to, okay, they're taking their time, luckily, because we see what happens when Disney doesn't take their time. We get Rise of Skywalker. Hate to say it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, not even Rise of Skywalker. We get the sequel trilogy. Like we know it wasn't planned to begin with. I mean, like with that entire franchise, like it's been well documented. Like Ryan and JJ were writing 7 and 8 at the same time without knowing each other's scripts. Like that's all you need to know about that. I mean, even Daisy Ridley saying, "Oh yeah, we were going into 9. You know, we didn't know who my parents were or who relations were or whatever." Like so. Like it's great that we're actually getting them having a solidified plan in place. Also, again, a lot of this stuff falls on the fact that like Dave Filoni is, being involved, and he's probably like, "Hey, we gotta like plan stuff out better than we have before in the past." Like, no offense, but like, back before he got his promotion, he probably, to some degree, like back, say during the sequel era, because he was still involved with Rebels and things like that. He just had to sit back and just be a TV guy and not really say too much. But now that he's, higher up, like he's top 3 up there with Kathy and Carrie Beck, like, he has way more sway on the company. So I think that's a big factor in this. And then also, it does with them acknowledging though that like the Moana, because that's what Iger said, was it was a series and then they transferred it into a movie. So the thing is, to me, that's also kind of like an indicator, like you were saying as well. Like it's an indicator, basically they're turning Mando season 4 into a movie, and it makes me wonder now. I mean, we'll of course like dive into that sort of future stuff in a different podcast. It's going to be interesting though, just to see what we get in the meantime.
Yes.
Because like, we still have Acolyte this year, we still have Skeleton Crew, and like those type of things, and of course we have Bad Batch coming up. But like those type of things are just like this calendar year, and Andor, of course, like so you have these things, and then it's like, what's in 2025? Like
Yeah.
maybe they'll show at Celebration next year. Maybe we get a new flagship show, like instead of the Bad Batch, it's
Yeah.
going to
Oh
be
yeah.
like whatever, like just some random like. I mean, knowing like right now with the way Star Wars is playing in the era, like maybe it'll be something Rebellion
Yep.
post Return of the Jedi or something, like
Oh.
something in that era, like, or just give us a Luke. A Luke, I've said it for so long. A Luke and Lando animated show of them like going
Yes.
hunting around the galaxy with Lor San Tekka, like looking for like Jedi stuff.
Okay.
Like just do something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the big indicator too when it comes to this movie announcement, is like what's going to be in the in between time. It also lays the foundation of when we're going to get Ahsoka 2 most likely, because Ahsoka 2 I would say is probably 2027 now at this point,
Yep.
since because I would have said 2026 if this was 2025,
Hmm.
but I'd say 26 is this, of course. I mean, they said that 27's Ahsoka, and then probably 28 is the Dave
No,
movie. Like,
I think that Ahsoka season 2 is probably gonna be out at the end of 2026. I
oh, like
think,
a holiday season.
yeah, I think they're gonna want to nail at least one live action series a year. And besides, Andor's ending next year. That'll be the flagship for next year, right? They'll skip a year and we'll get maybe Acolyte season 2 and Ahsoka in 2026 is my guess. And we'll
Yeah.
have a new animated series coming out next year as well, would be my guess, because they're usually pretty quick. Like, remember Clone Wars ended, and then within a couple months we got the Bad Batch announcement. Those guys work on that stuff so far in advance, and yeah, I just quick thoughts on what we need. We need something like Rebels and something like Clone Wars that's going to buff up those those trilogies on their own, right? Right? So you got to have that long form really good Lucasfilm animation, not throwing a slight at Resistance because it wasn't trying to be that, but having, like you said, those main characters in animated form, and I think that's hopefully what we'll get. I'm really hoping for that May the 4th
I mean,
announcement to be that, but yeah.
hey, maybe we get something. I mean, I really don't see them killing Omega in the Bad Batch. I really don't, just because
Mm,
of her age. So like maybe we get something like Omega, whatever,
yeah.
discontinues off out in the blue, whatever, at the end of this series, and then boom, she pops back up as like one of the 3 leads in
Mm-hmm.
the next animated show. So it's
Yep.
like it also adds rewatchability value to the Bad Batch, and we see more of her. So like maybe we get something like that. And there's that whole angle of her being Boba Fett's sister, and maybe you could like play that in with Boba post Jedi or something. Like there's plenty of opportunities
Yeah.
there.
And so yeah, there's everything big that came out of the earnings call for Disney. Speaking of Bad Batch, we got our first clip of the Bad Batch bed, and this one's called Confined. This official clip, the first clip we got, and I was blown away. I was blown away by how good this little animated show has gotten over the years. I mean, say what you will. Yeah, there are some of the episodes where we say it like it is on this channel, right? We review every episode of The Bad Batch and its finality, and we call it like it is. Milton, you, and I say this is an episode that we didn't need, or this is an episode that didn't have a point. But you get those episodes with Crosshair like last season, and they're powerful stuff, right? This is not just whiz bang shooting lasers, pew pew pew. There's straight up drama in this animated series. The voice acting from both of these actors, right, is just transcends the medium. For a moment I was like, oh, I forgot I'm watching an animated series. I feel like I'm watching Andor, or something like that. It's just powerful stuff. So what was your thoughts on this?
Oh yeah, I thought it was a really good little scene. I was surprised to see it. The funny thing is, like I said, with me being so sick, I was laying around. I swear I thought that said confirmed as the title, and when I watched the clip, I was like, man, I don't know why called confirmed, but okay. But yeah, no, it was a good little clip. It had, like you said, it was a good serious tone. It makes you it makes me actually like lean into some of my um ideas from prior podcast even a little more. So like so Omega is being held at Mount Tantus, right? Like just
Oh
double
yeah.
checking.
Yep, yep, yep.
Okay. I was making sure, just making sure. So like I it makes me even more interested. Like what if by like respecting like Dark Disciple even more, what if Ventress is there as like kind of like a guard to Mount Tantus potentially? Like maybe
Oh.
that's where Ventress comes in. So that's what I was thinking. Maybe like you're gonna have Crosshair and Omega trying to like break out or form this escape plan, and like you're gonna have Ventress being involved with them. Like I could see them going in that direction because like the thing is with Crosshair and Omega, they're having this heartfelt moment, and I think it could lead into Crosshair like you're having she's talking to him about learning to trust people and stuff, which is great because like obviously Crosshair definitely has learned not to trust people. And then the thing is with both of them, since they're having this conversation, to me that like screams pretty much like just from like foreshadowing purposes, like that means like eventually maybe like Crosshair's gonna like sacrifice himself to like save
Mm-hmm.
Omega or something,
Mm-hmm.
and like maybe he like does that. Maybe he like goes at Ventress or something, or like maybe he like hordes off a bunch of like stormtroopers and like lets her escape, or
Yeah.
something like that. Because I think that's what this whole scene is leading up to. Is it won't be in obviously the premiere, but I think it's just later on foreshadowing for the series, and it's a really good sign for the series as well. Not just say story wise, just maybe feel wise, because like hey, it's like a more serious feel, so maybe we get a little bit more some more serious episodes instead of some of the more not great episodes. So like I
Yeah.
think I think it's a good sign in general.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, let's hope that Saz Ventress isn't played for a cheap trick and this isn't just like a flashback to like Dark Disciple or something. Like, I really hope that is not the case. I don't think Lucasfilm would pull the rug out from under the fans like that because there
Well,
would be an
hey,
uproar.
we have all this clone stuff. What if when at the end of Dark Disciple with her body, what if like they clone her?
Well,
Like,
apparently, and I still did not get a chance to reread Dark Disciple, or at least pick at the last couple pages. But from some of the podcasts I've been listening to, somehow it seems like Obi-Wan and Anakin or somebody returned her to Dathomir and put her in like one of those green pools, which would
Mm.
open up the idea of like she got resurrected somehow. So I think it's more
Oh,
along those
gotcha.
lines. I
Mm.
I like where you're going with your idea on where she is, but I just don't see with her character her working with the Empire unless she's working with the Empire against her own will and she's almost a prisoner in her own right. In the case of which, if she had lightsaber, why the hell wouldn't she just get out of there on her own? But I I think there could be a good coming full circle kind of moment or something where it's like you have her fighting clones and killing clones for her entire life in the Clone Wars, or at least her existence in the Clone Wars. Wouldn't that be a funny kind of opposite thing if she ends up being one of the people that's, there at the end fighting with the clones to at Mount Tantus to like free those people or something like
Yep.
that. It'd be a cool moment for her. But yeah, my only trepidation with the season is, oh my gosh, are they just doing too much stuff at the end that is getting added and not enough focus on the Bad Batch? Because yeah, we love Asajj Ventress, but the show shouldn't be about her exactly. It also gets me to kind of guess or think, right? If they had the guts, Lucasfilm, to just straight up reveal this huge moment in the show of this character's return, what could they be hiding from us? What other characters or reveals could they be hiding from us if they put this out there already? And this one's huge on its own.
Yeah, I mean, you got her, you got Cad, you got all kinds of characters and stuff. So it's like maybe, I mean, I don't know how they would do it. I mean, I guess you have like 16 episodes, 15 episodes. Like you, unless they could maybe fast track a Boba appearance like with the sister stuff. But like man, if they would do the Boba thing,
Ooh,
they would have to make it quick. Like if they would go reveal to Boba he has a sister, like have that be somehow impactful at that time, even though like we've seen Boba being ruthless even in Clone Wars, like as a little kid. So it just makes you wonder if that's a story thread they just dropped, or it's going to be like, oh yeah, guys, remember from season one we talked about Boba Fett a couple times. Like here we go. Um, so yeah, like you said, maybe since they showed us Ventress, it'll be like, hey, we get, we already know the Emperor's in it. Maybe we get a, I don't even know, Vader appearance or something, like with, obviously
hmm.
not versus the Bad Batch, but maybe he's just talking with the Emperor or something. Or like, I mean, who knows, Chris? Maybe it's like, maybe they just like use Vader and like, they like talk about him like heading out on some mission or something, and it's like a reference to like some book or something. Like, maybe it's
Yeah.
just like a little cameo like that or something. But like, I don't know. I feel like we're gonna get some more different types of characters just because of that whole reason. And I don't know. That's a good point. I never thought of it from that angle, but yeah, I think there's a lot of different potential
Oh
characters
yeah.
we could see
Oh yeah.
now. And yeah.
And we're gonna have our Bad Batch preview next week, so we'll spend a lot more time
Oh
speculating,
yeah.
theorizing, just talking about our overall thoughts, and we'll have Milton back for that. So I think that's where we'll end it with our little Bad Batch discussion. But yeah, I really enjoyed that clip. Really enjoyed that clip.
Yep.
So over on the Twitterverse and other forms of social media, we got a cryptic tweet in this case from Empire. This was on Thursday evening. And all they put out there was "Hello there" with a Starfield, and they said we'll see you back here at 4 p.m. British time. And it set the Star Wars world on fire. Everybody was just throwing out their crazy speculation. Are we getting the Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2 announcement and a trailer? And people are just shooting for the moon at this one, myself included. I put this out there on the Star Wars Underworld podcast on Thursday. I said, hey, they're going to reveal Acolyte pictures and they're going to announce that the trailer is coming during Super Bowl. And man, was I was wrong. I was very wrong. What we got instead was a couple really cool celebration covers for not just the Phantom Menace 25th anniversary, but the prequel's anniversary for 25 years. Now, I know you took a look at these covers, but I really like them. I mean, the fact that they're including all the mainstays, different characters, including villains like my favorite Jango Fett on the One Dark Side cover, and then you got the light side cover. So, yeah, first thoughts on those, Ben.
Yeah. I mean, first thoughts for sure. I'm at a point now, unless we like something like actors or leakers or people like that, like I just can't buy these pre-canned hello there's or things anymore because we got kind of like the rug pulled on us on Billy D. Williams. Like, don't get me wrong, it's great he did a biography, and then now like this where it's like, oh, this is cool. It wasn't what I was expecting. It's cool, but like, okay. Um, but yeah, like this whole thing. Yeah, these covers are really cool. Like you said, it like kind of reminded me of like the olden days of magazines and like seeing the different like Star Wars magazines at the store and like things like that. So it's cool just seeing like the anniversary covers, especially like the Phantom Menace one. I think always stands out to me. Anything Phantom Menace always stands out to me just because like we were in that age range where like Star Wars is back and like they hammered us with Phantom Menace marketing back in the day. So like that movie always has like an imprint on me because like from the magazines, from like all the places like Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, wherever, there, I mean, even the Pepsi cans had the Phantom Menace characters on it. So like that anything related to that movie always stands out to me from like the prequel era in terms of like off screen. So yeah, like that cover really stood out to me, and I really liked it. And like just overall I thought they were good covers in general.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So it was kind of funny. I was like, wait, that was the announcement. But as we're recording this on Saturday, Empire Magazine, based in the UK, pulled out all stops, and they have announced. Let me show this to you guys. We got a Phantom Menace reveal to be in the theaters. We're going to see Phantom Menace once again in on May 3rd, 2024. It's coming back to theaters. I'm not sure if they're going to bring 3D version as well. I hope they do. But I mean, I'm just looking at this. I'm just looking at this photo, this poster here, and it is really freaking cool. I love this poster so much. It's got all, it's just very artistically done with the mall lurking in the background. You got the Trade Federation core ship. You got a tiny little bit of Anakin. And I think that's interesting because there's always this question going around about who's the main character of the Phantom Menace. And there you have the big three. You got Padme, who's looming larger than any other character besides Maul, right? And then you got Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan front and center. So, yeah, what's your reactions to Phantom Menace playing in theaters, to the poster itself?
Yeah, I would say for me it was well, for starters, the poster. So with the poster, like I really, like you said, it's interesting seeing like the layout and like really the discussion about the main character of the film. I mean, I would say it has to be. See, that's a tough one. It's I feel like it's pretty equal between Padme and then the two Jedi. Just because I feel like they're all really fairly balanced, like really fairly balanced. But you could argue Padme as the main character. Like maybe say if it's like a 50-50 split, I would say she's like 52-48, probably the main character. Um, and yeah, and then like with the re-release, like that was awesome seeing that news, like because like I remember seeing Attack of the Clones, of course, because I was like in fifth grade or whatever, and then of course I remember Revenge of the Sith, and then like Phantom Menace, like I remember seeing it in theaters, but not like crystal clear because I was only like 6 years old, 7 years old, like because I went to it. I remember like three different times actually with my grandma because like I fell asleep the first two times and then she told me she was like, I'll never take you back to a movie again if you don't stay awake. So like that scared me into staying awake the entire time. Um, but I remember that like the main things even as a kid back in the day, Phantom Menace, like that stood out to me was you have the pod race, you have the lightsaber battles, um you have of course the space battle, and then like for me, like of course Duel of Fates is like the like the masterpiece of one of the masterpieces of Star Wars in general. But even like as a younger viewer, one of the parts that really stood out to me the most in that movie was when Qui-Gon and Anakin are running to the ship and Darth Maul jumps, and they start, he jumps and whips out his lightsaber, and they start fighting right in the desert. Like that, as like a kid, you're like, whoa, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Because it's just so like electric. And you have this caped figure fighting, and then like, boom, he's gone, and all this stuff. And like, so it's gonna be really cool to see all of that play out again in theaters finally, because I've seen all the other movies. Like I said, 2 and 3 I remember really well, and then of course Clone Wars, and then of course the sequels, and then I've seen all the original trilogy movies in theaters just in the past 4 years, because like during COVID they showed all the classic
Mm-hmm.
movies over here,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yep.
the original trilogy, and it was amazing. It, like, that's a shout out to any of our audience, our listeners. Like, if you get a chance to watch the OT in theaters, make sure you do that, because it's an amazing experience. Um, so yeah, like I would definitely recommend to anybody who has not seen the Phantom Menace in theaters, um, definitely go and see it when this comes out, because this will be like really special, especially with like the modern theater experience, like the audio, the visuals, and then of course just to see like all the different battles playing out, and how they'll look nowadays, and especially to see the Duel of Fates on screen like now, like, is going to be great.
Oh yeah, I mean I've had the pleasure of seeing Phantom Menace a few times in recent memory. This goes way back before the Disney buyout in 2012. They actually had it in 3D, right? And I know a
Yep.
few of my lucky fans that actually got to see Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith at those celebrations around that time, and they never ended up coming back with 3D versions of either of those films, episode 2 or 3. But yeah, I remember having a good time seeing that in 3D with the pod racing especially. Like it wasn't just like run of the mill 3D. George Lucas and the fine folks at ILM actually put some effort into it and made it really cool and immersive with the 3D tech. So I'm really hoping that they put it in 3D. And then I also seen it for the 18-hour lead up marathon to Force
Mm,
Awakens, where they showed all the movies. And I was driving down the highway at about 1 o'clock in the morning because they were starting Phantom Menace at 1:30 in the morning the day before Force Awakens 7 p.m. showing later the day, right? So it was pretty fun. That was the last time I remember seeing it in the theater. People had their blankets, they had their popcorn. By the time we got to Attack of the Clones, there was some audible snoring going on in the theater because everybody was just all comfortable, reclined back in the middle of the night, right? So that was good stuff there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this because in the time since, it's not like you're some weird person if you like the prequels anymore. It is widely known that these films are a lot better for people than when they first came out. Thanks to the Clone Wars, as I said, the different animated series that are strengthening the live action films. Clone Wars did that wonderfully, and people have a lot more respect. I've always respected the Phantom Menace. I mean, that was in my heyday. I remember being in second grade and so excited to leave school. I remember vividly where I was. It was one of those moments where me and my friends were talking about the battle droids running away from the exploding core ship, and I was just like imagining like I could be at the theater right now watching this movie. I just have to leave the recess area and go home, you know? And it's just like it was a fever dream. It was a fever dream. It was like the ultimate like
yep.
golden age of Star Wars for me. I was going to Toys R Us back when they're still open in the States
Yep.
and picking up my action figures. I'd be begging my mom like I need this guy. I need this
Or
Nemoidian
KB
figure.
Toys.
KB Toys, another one. Yeah, so getting those micro machines,
Yep.
MTTs, and all that kind of thing for my birthday that year. Such fond memories, Naboo Starfighters. Oh man. So, yeah, you better believe it. I'm gonna probably wait and see it on May the 4th. I know it's out on May 3rd, but I mean, how else can I celebrate May the 4th than not going to see Phantom Menace on May 4th? So I'm
Yep.
hoping that May the 4th is gonna be bigger than it's ever been. The idea that we're gonna be able to sit in the theater and watch a movie and whatever else
Well,
comes out that day will be even more like a cherry on top.
here's the thing to think about with that is, you know, um, a lot of the people that are in our age range, like 20s, 30s, they, they're the audience that really loves this movie. And they do, even for these re-releases, they release the the box office of these movies. So I'm interested to see what this makes on re-release, just because they'll announce if it's like 5, 10 million bucks, whatever, a couple million, whatever. So like I'm interested to see just because of like our generation to see how the people go and show out because you know there have been plenty of movies that have made some a little bit of money on re-release like well, I mean you can't compare to Avatar but like other movies like I think Empire Strikes Back back a few years ago I think it made like 3 or 4 million bucks I think on a re-release like it was a solid amount for
Yeah.
being
I
out for 50 years or something.
I'm making a bold prediction, and granted, I don't have the access to seeing what else comes out that weekend, but I have a strong sense that this could beat out any new film that weekend. I think this could.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see the fans come out in droves, especially the
Oh
people
yeah.
that are, the millennials like us, going out, getting this nostalgia, the people that really cherish these movies. Heck, I'm even just sitting here thinking about maybe I'll see it more than once that weekend. I'll see it
Well,
the day it comes out and then go back the next day.
well, because you got to think about it too nowadays with people in our generation they have kids now, so they'll be like, hey, I want to go and take my kid to show him the
Oh,
movie that I watched when I
yeah.
was a kid and stuff. So
Heck,
like,
yeah.
you're gonna have plenty of that where families are going. So I'm really excited to see what this movie makes this 25-year-old movie makes. But I'm excited to see what it does just because it's like
Yeah.
it's so nostalgic and it just fits our generation.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself because I'm sitting here wearing the 40th anniversary t-shirt I got from
Mm,
Celebration for Return of the Jedi. I never actually made it out to see the re-release in the theater last year. The thing is they have a very short run, a lot of these movies with the re-release. I think they're out for literally like a week. At least that's
yeah.
how Return of the Jedi was out for a week. And even the way they word it in the Empire article, it seems like, oh, it's out for the weekend of May the 4th. So I would say if you're thinking about it, just see it that weekend because you don't know. You don't want to be like me and wait to the next weekend and say, oh, crap, it's not in theaters anymore. It's a
Yeah.
difference between Disney spending money to keep these new movies in the theater for 3 months, but an old movie, they tend to get that out of there. Unless miraculously it makes like, let's say it makes like 20 or $30 million somehow. Maybe they will keep it in there a little bit longer.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm excited to see what it does. And yeah, it's important to like go and check out these re-releases like this though. Like if you're like a hardcore fan like us, it's definitely worth it to go and see them if you haven't seen them. Like, like I've said, I've seen the OT. I watched the OT during the COVID era, and like when that was going on, the only reason I was able to see that so conveniently was because there was no movies in theaters. So like our theater locally did was like they literally had um like a Star Wars weekend for the original trilogy, like Friday, A New Hope, Saturday, Empire, Sunday, Return of the Jedi, and then like the next weekend it was like Jurassic Park 1, 2, 3, et cetera, et cetera. Like they were doing like trilogies and movies like that, and like that's the only reason I got to like really see the original movies. And if not, I wouldn't have been able to see the Return of the Jedi re-release because the closest one to me was like 3 hours away. So
Hmm.
it was cool
Yikes.
getting to see it then. So yeah, definitely like recommend to people if you can make it out that weekend for Phantom Menace, definitely go and see it because it's well worth it to go and like check it out for like, $10, 5, $10, whatever your ticket prices are.
Yeah, so there you go. May the 3rd, you're going to see another Star Wars film. Might not be a new Star Wars film, but you'll have the chance, and many of you have not had the chance to see that in the theater. Getting into our last story, this comes to us literally like 2 or 3 hours before we started going live here, is Collider has some insider information saying that The Acolyte will be out this summer. Yes! We're starting to see the future of the Star Wars slate. We were arguing, not arguing, we were complaining rather, that we didn't know what was happening in 2024. Now we know into the Bad Batch. Bad Batch ends in May. We don't have an exact month, but I would really like it to happen in June. Now, I don't know if the wires got crossed in their description or something, but they literally say that this is set 50 years before the Phantom Menace. Now, I did my due diligence and I pulled out my timelines book, which is just this great resource you guys should pick up for every like BBY, ABY date in canon. And if you're looking at 50 years, that Count Dooku is around. Mace Windu is basically around. Originally, Ben, I heard this was 100 years before Phantom Menace. I think 50 years could be an error. Maybe I'm just getting too much into the weeds here, but hopefully it's 100 and not 50. But other than that, I'm at least happy to see that this thing's coming out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, 100 years was 100% the number we heard before. So, like, 50 is interesting because, like, if that wasn't a typo, that like changes everything that could potentially happen with this show. Like, completely changes the whole idea behind it because I mean that already opens up so many questions because think about it this way. Okay, so does that mean we're getting a young Palpatine? Because
Yep.
he'd be eligible. We would obviously get a Plagueis that would 100% be eligible. So like there's that opens up a huge can of worms, and I don't know how old any like how old like certain alien like Plo Koon, how old could he be? You know, like he'd be around probably if you know his species ages slower or whatever. Like so you know you have different questions that get opened up if it is 50 years. And like you know, I've talked about it before. Like I think with this show, like I think eventually in the show, I don't know if it'll be season one because it feels like that would be really quick.
Mm,
But I think if you know if there's a season two, I think eventually by the end of the series we'll get like a Darth Plagueis appearance finally. Like just
yeah.
because you know you're gonna go in this era and not address Darth Plagueis at all.
Hmm.
So like I think that's inevitable. But with this, if we take this 50 years as gospel, then Darth Plagueis is probably going to be in the finale of this first season. And I would say, I mean, it just changes everything. Because what are we going to get? Are we going to get Darth Plagueis in the finale with a young Palpatine or something? Or a young Palpatine getting influenced because,
Yeah.
you know,
But
like it
then,
just it opens up a lot of can of worms there. So yeah, so like those, it just changes your predictions completely, shifts your whole predictions for the entire series, in my opinion,
yeah,
and
it's
like
like,
how I view it.
yeah, it's like, for instance, like throwing this out there, this is not going to happen. But it's like, okay, we have our main character there, and they're going around, they're doing their thing. They die at the end. And then your protagonist gets teased, and and the acolyte is pertaining to Palpatine as the acolyte of Plagueis, and then we have Matt Smith there
Yep.
playing a young Palpatine as the ending shot of season one, and people lose their minds and go crazy. As cool as that would be, the promise for me of acolyte was the idea of new territory, was the idea of just like the High Republic, which is basing a lot of its material off of that there are not any goalposts set. There are no characters that have to be alive to be at this certain point because they're alive. That's what I liked about the
But if it's
Acolyte. It
50
was the
years, then it
first
is.
exactly. So that's why I'm like, if it's 100 years, then yes, we get all that separation. Yeah, you could throw a Plagueis in there, but it's the Palpatine wouldn't be alive then, and that's a cool aspect because literally all the characters you're talking about wouldn't be connected to the original trilogy, and that's my biggest gripe with it's been almost 10 years. Actually, yes, it has been almost 10 years now. We are in 2024 that Disney has owned Lucasfilm. And I think the promise down the road was the idea that after a while we would get away from the normal Star Wars stuff that we're all used to seeing X-Wings and TIE Fighters and start blazing new trails, start getting into that old Republic, start getting into things that the hardcore fan base has been dying to get that etch scratched. And this would just be like, oh great, we're playing member berries again. Oh, there's a young Dooku, there's a young Mace Windu. Like it's just gonna be like, wait, the promise was that this was gonna be all new. So I don't want it to be anchored too closely because I feel like that's what could happen. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's just like I said, let's keep playing in the 50 years ballpark. That means that means whenever the lead character whenever she like interacts with or even gets close to like the Jedi characters that we've seen from the trailer, you know, if it is 50 years, they're going to go and report back to the council. We're going to get a scene like that, we're going to get a scene, of course, where they're going to have where they're going to checkbox every Jedi in the council, basically, other than the human ones. And we're going to go there, and we're going to have those Jedi walk in, just like kind of Qui-Gon did in Phantom Menace, and be like, Masters, I felt a disturbance in the Force, blah, 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 blah. And Master Yoda's going to be questioning him, Plo Koon, Kiadi Mundi, all these people. And maybe, when they walk out, you have like a young Mace Windu like shrug them off and be like, still being like young, like kind of more arrogant Mace Windu or something, like since he, if he's not a knight yet or whatever. So like, I think, I don't know, 50 years is, oh man, that definitely makes things a little more trickier, because I was banking on us seeing a Yoda cameo at some point in this show because it makes sense. But if this is 50 years, I mean, we have a lot of characters we could see from the prequel era. Like, I mean, heck, even like if you think about it, like I don't know, it's just a lot of this stuff, because it's like you have the different Jedi, of course, and then I mean, of course, like the Plagueis stuff, but I mean, even with Plagueis, like, I mean, we don't know. I mean, technically in canon, we don't know exactly what he is or who he is or how long he could live or anything like that. But like, you have him, but it's like, are we going to see like a 15-year-old Palpatine or something? Like something like that. Like it just makes you wonder. Like it kind of opens up a can of worms. And if that is true, if they stick with the 50-year thing, like if we get another article from like an Entertainment Weekly or like a Hollywood Reporter or someone like that talking about this same type of thing, then it's got to be accurate, and it just changes your whole perspective on the show. Like to me, if we hold with this 50-year time period, it's going to completely shift my predictions from here for the show. Like when we get to because whenever we get to our prediction show, because we'll do that before the season comes out, it'll shift my predictions from here to way over here completely, completely change where the series is going. Because like I said, I go from predicting Plagueis being at the end of the series to he'll be the end of season 1 if this is 50 years before. Because I could see them doing, like you said, Chris, what if season 1 you have it lead up with this, the main character, end of the show, she gets killed off by Palpatine and Plagueis. And then it's like, oh, we pulled the carpet out from under you. Surprise! Palpatine is actually the evil Acolyte. And then Acolyte Season 2 is our Palpatine series we've been asking for. Like, people have been see, like, because that's the thing, though. Like, we laugh about it. But, man, if it's 50 years before, like, anything like that could happen. And then the thing is, if it is 50 years before and they don't even, like touch Plagueis, touch any of these things, though, then you'll get fans asking questions. All right, we're 50 years before and you're doing all this stuff and you don't have anybody of note in this series? Like, because that'll be a valid question then around that time too. So like, I don't know. That was an interesting wording by Collider, because like even before you typed it in our group chat, like when I was reading over the article, I was like, man, I had to like double take it and read it again. I was like, because I was just reading through on my phone, and I was like, wait a second, did that say 50 years? And like I scrolled back and was like 50, and I was like, huh, I swear I thought they said 100.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's interesting. But and then like even to get off the speculation, because we'll have a whole podcast speculating this show, especially if that 50 holds. But with the time release of it, it's like the question is, what is summer to Lucasfilm? Is it June like Kenobi, or is it going to be August like Andor? So, and like the only thing that worries me about that is like, if it comes out August, that means Skeleton Crew or Andor is going to get pushed, because we only have enough time, because you have say 8 weeks for, say if this show comes out first week of August, it'd be 4 weeks of August, 4 weeks of September. Then you have to have a little time off of October in between, and then November would be the next Star Wars show, and then it'd be November through the end of 2024. So it's like, if this show comes out in August, like we're only going to get 2 Star Wars shows this year, live action, anyways.
I've been prepared for that to happen. Yeah, I've been prepared for that to happen. They've mentioned, by the way, to clarify, they've mentioned 50 years twice in the same article, so that's not just like quick like
Oh,
error. Like
okay.
you just say
Okay,
it
so
twice, so it's I don't know. It's only from one source though. They could be getting something, but it's not like it was a grammatical error.
but see, that's the interesting thing though with them, that being their scoop. They obviously heard it from someone. Collider has pretty good sourcing, I would say. And it's like, and with them mentioning it twice, it it does, like, the can of worms, I think, is just all over the floor now, because this show could go any direction. Like it could, I mean, I don't know, like this could be like a Rogue One situation where we have these main characters and then they get knocked off by the end of the series, and it's like, oh wait, actually the main characters, these other people.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I don't know. I think
and I
there's
mean, it's the Sith. Like, the thing is with people like that. That's another thing too with people too when we're talking about this show is like, hey, people may not like that idea of, like, say, like the main character, other Sith characters in the show getting taken out, but like that is like the rule of two with the Sith. Like, if they introduce Plagueis, for example, at some point in the series, like, someone's dying. So, especially with the way the rule of two was really like, just Darth Maul and Palpatine at that time or whatever, basically. Like, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting, dude, just to see what they do with this, with the 50-year thing. That's
yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah, so only time will tell. Maybe tomorrow as we're filming this, maybe they'll drop a trailer at Super Bowl and literally just confirm, put out a press release, update it to say 50, say it's coming out in June, and it'll make all of us very, very happy. But until then, I think that wraps up this week's show. Ben, thanks for having me on this very, very busy episode. A lot of news going from video games to movie re-releases to Star Wars sports and everything in between, action figures. It was one of those episodes where we go in thinking, oh, it's going to be a slow week, and heck no, was it far from it.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, I wasn't expecting us to have a lot to talk about, really, especially with, just I don't know, it just feels like we were kind of like an in-between period for Star Wars, like leading up to Bad Batch. I wasn't expecting any news at all. So it was a good, like, refreshing way to, to end the week, especially after me being sick all week and still being sick, as some people can hear. So yeah, it's definitely going to be cool and exciting. And yeah, I mean, hey, if they drop an Acolyte trailer, who knows? They might drop an Acolyte trailer tomorrow, and we see young Mace Windu and Darth Plagueis in the trailer.
That's one way to get the people sign up for Disney
like,
Plus. That's for sure. You
oh
recoup,
yeah,
you recoup the 1.3 million users they lost real quick with that.
oh yeah. If you flash a Darth Plagueis for a millisecond on the screen tomorrow night, that'll instantly gain some subscribers. I could say that, if you're Disney. But yeah, I mean, overall, really good week for Star Wars news, that's for sure. And yeah, if you want to find me talking more Star Wars and fitness and sports, especially tomorrow, find me on Twitter and Instagram at RealBenMaynard. And then you can find our other co-host, Milton, on Twitter at MiltonWeber7, or his Instagram, where he's like pretty active there, always posting his fitness and workout stuff, at Milton7Weber.
Yes, and you can find me right here on this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Starrapter. You can find me on my blog, where I just put up my first written video game review for Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. That's at starrapter.substack.com. Please subscribe. It's free. You can do that. And you could also find me a lot on the Star Wars Underworld channel this week. I was there quite often. I did a stream for Tractor Beam on Wednesday, as I mentioned with our interview with the comic book writer Ethan Sachs on his run of Bounty Hunters and his upcoming run on Jango Fett, which I cannot wait for, by the way. And I was also on their flagship podcast, Star Wars Underworld, also on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel, talking about a lot of things we talked about today. We really got into the weeds with this video game stuff and everything else. So more thoughts on that, you could check that out over there. Also, you could download this podcast on any podcast streaming app of your choice on Apple, on Spotify, and please make sure to give us a review. And please, on this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, all that good stuff. And we'll be back to our normal time next week, Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be giving you guys our predictions for season 3 of the Bad Batch, our big Bad Batch preview, because we are less than 2 weeks away, Ben. We're getting close, and it's going to be that time of the year. Every episode, gotta love it, reviewing episodes. Sometimes we'll be reviewing 3 episodes, sometimes 2 episodes that week, sometimes just 1 episode, but it's sure to be a good old time over there. So for Milton, who couldn't be here, for Ben, for Chris, aka Starrapter, that's gonna do it for Outer Rim Transmission episode 140. Thanks for watching. Thanks, chat, for chiming in. May the force be with you always.